This year has been a strange one for the UFC, with the majority of headlines now revolving around the pay gap that exists between MMA fighters and their boxing compatriots. With Jake Paul firmly standing his ground against Dana White, it feels like times are changing, and for once, the YouTuber has some contenders on his side. But what else do we know about the UFC right now? For all this and more, stay tuned. First of all, let's talk about the latest UFC champion to join the fight. We are, of course, referring to Francis Ngannou, the mixed martial artist who currently holds the record for being the hardest recorded puncher in the world. Suffice to say, the heavyweight champion is a well-respected member of the UFC, someone that Dana White would no doubt want in his own corner. But according to Ngannou, everything that Jake Paul has been saying against the UFC president is right on the money. For those of you who don't know, or need a bit of a refresher, Jake Paul went after Dana White when the president attacked him for putting on what he referred to as a boxing farce. Since then, Paul has been smacking White with allegations of poor treatment of UFC fighters, making reference to greedy pay-per-view prices, terrible contender pay, and of course the unfortunate state of fighter healthcare at the moment. But it hasn't just been talk on the part of the YouTuber turned professional boxer. He has also invested a significant amount of money into the parent company of the league in an attempt to not only make his mark, but make a change for the better. And while White has tried to distance himself from this beef over the past few months, Jake doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon. The social media star who everyone was against from the start is now starting to get a pretty big following of fighters on his side, and heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou is one of them. How do we know Ngannou was on Jake's side though? Well, this was made quite obvious when the fighter posted an interview on YouTube in which he was asked about the Twitter war between Paul and White. It didn't take him long to mention that although he hadn't taken an official stance at that point, he has been following the beef between Paul and White since its very inception. Now only it is interesting to see someone stand up to Dana White. It was rather important considering how the beef was actually bringing to the fore some really important issues. Like Ngannou stated, UFC contenders put their lives on the line each and every time they step into the octagon, and while he doesn't always agree with the way that Paul says things, he simply cannot disagree with the various shots Paul has taken against White. In his own words, when he claimed for fighter healthcare, I am 100% down with that. They are putting their bodies on the line for something. At least give them healthcare. This is probably the most important point that Paul has been making over the last few months and was somewhat cemented when Conor McGregor injured himself early on in his second matchup against Dustin Poirier. An injury like that could seriously take a fighter out of contention, and with nothing left to do in the future considering how much time has been spent training, UFC contenders need to be taken care of. It's the least the league can do after all. That being said, the feud hasn't stopped UFC fans from talking about the Hill KO, and that's really not surprising considering how it was won for the books. For those of you who don't know, Jamal Hill was dead set on obliterating Johnny Walker at UFC Vegas 48 on Saturday, but Walker fans were of the impression that their man was going to steamroll over Hill in absolutely no time at all. Funny enough, it was Sweet Dreams who ended up clutching the victory with just one punch, showing Walker fans that their man was simply talking more than he was training. And if you tuned into the match, you'll know that Walker actually had his opponent on the ropes for the majority of the round. Using his far-reaching kicks to keep Hill at bay, he found himself racking up some rather impressive points. But as it turns out, Hill was just exercising his patience and waiting for the perfect moment. When it arrived, he countered with an incredible right punch against the temple of Walker, causing his opponent to go crashing to the ground. And with one final ground pound to the face, the match was over with Hill's arm being held up in victory. Suffice to say, the MMA community were pretty surprised by the quick end to an anticipated main event. Even UFC Canada took to Twitter to ask, did that really happen? While the reaction of the commentating crew quickly became a meme. So it looks like Jamal Hill has some skills. We can't wait to see what comes next. Walker fans will be happy to hear their man is doing just fine after the KO though. In fact, he actually appears to be in good spirits despite the atrocious blow he took to the head on Saturday. This is somewhat surprising considering how the loss has really cemented him into a downward spiral. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to his career, this was his fourth loss in the past 5 matches, all of which were fought over a period of 3 years. In other words, it's not an exaggeration to state that Walker hasn't walked away with a win in a while, with his match against Jamal being considered by many as the start of his comeback. But it goes without saying that things did not go exactly as planned. Directly after his loss, Walker took to Instagram where he posted a health update to put his fans at ease. In this video, he announced that he was doing okay, other than the brutal gash he had taken to the side of his face. He also mentioned how he had lost because of some vital mistakes he had made, but all in all, his spirits appear to be high as he celebrated escaping the fight with minor injuries with some much-deserved pizza. It was also good to see that Walker was surrounded by his friends and coaching staff, all of whom seem to be serving as a solid support structure for the fighter. In the words of Walker, it's on to the next one, where he'll hopefully pick up a win. Another fighter making headlines right now is Khamzat Chimaev of Sweden. And with a solid 10-0 record to start off his career, this is really no surprise. As of right now, the Russian-born fighter is taking aim at the welterweight title, but there are quite a few opponents standing in his way at the moment. And although he has yet to sign on to fight in another bout, rumors have been circulating around a possible fight between him and title challenger Gilbert Burns. If this is indeed the case, Schaub is closer to the championship than ever before, with a single win over Gilbert propelling him into title contention. And since he's already expressed a willingness to try and take on the current champion, Kamaru Usman, we can't wait for things to become official. Boers easily made headlines a few days ago when he posted a video of himself working hard on his time off, no doubt preparing for a fight that has yet been confirmed or announced. And by the look of things, the man is in shape. According to reports, the footage was shot at Stockholm's famed All-Stars gym and showed Schaub working out alongside fellow UFC contender Darren Till. But what really made the MMA community laugh is how Schaub would constantly motivate and encourage Till during the workout by shouting, "Come on, fat boy," at the top of his lungs. As it turns out, the up-and-coming champion has made quite an impact, and it might just be time for Dana White to give him a chance. But Shavkat Rakhmonov isn't quite as impressed as the rest of us. In fact, the Kazakhstani fighter is less than happy with the comparisons currently being made between himself and Schaub. It's not that he thinks Schaub is a bad fighter or anything, he's just grown tired of constantly being grouped together because they come from a similar part of the world and fight in the same division. After the rather impressive spinning kick finish against Carlston Harris that earned him his first performance of the night bonus, Rakhmonov was faced with a number of comparisons. And in his own words, "I get annoyed because I am not Khamzat, I am Shavkat." He also stressed just how annoyed he was of the question of when he and Schaub are finally going to face off against one another. All in all, he seems to want some separation so he can grow as a fighter and become his own, and we can't blame him for that. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the Ultimate Fighting Championship at the moment. What do you think of the beef between Paul and White though? And which future match are you most looking forward to? Be sure to let us know in the comment section down below.